Okay, so imagine if you decided to go bungee jumping, and just before you stepped off the platform, you're told by those in charge they're not sure how the bungee cord attached to your ankles, how long it is, if it's the correct length. You won't know until you jump. Well, that's kind of a morbid and anxiety-filled way to describe what is happening with Idaho school districts right now. But you can bet they are anxious, because just days before they flip the page into a new fiscal year, they got an unwelcome surprise. On Monday, we touched on the billions of federal dollars set to go out to schools that did not go out to schools. A federal funding freeze, quietly handed down from Washington, D.C., put the brakes on billions of dollars meant for after-school programs, teacher training, migrant education support, those kind of things. Idaho's cut of that? Well, we're one of the hardest hit, about $33.3 million, which is about 16.5% of all funding from U.S. Department of Education for Idaho's K-12 schools. So with the school year just about a month away, Gem State districts are now scrambling. Hunter Funk found out what that scrambling or that decision-making from atop the platform is like in Twin Falls.
The last couple of weeks have been kind of a mad dash to figure out what to do.
The Idaho school districts turn the calendar on a new fiscal year with budgets in place and staff in position. But what wasn't in place was the funding.
Just a few days before that happened, many of us saw national breaking news that federal funding was paused for a number of programs.
In just the Twin Falls School District, $1.6 million now put on hold. That's 2.5% of their overall funds for student services.
If we had learned back in March that this funding would not be available to us, we would be in a whole different situation right now. But when this comes just days before our new fiscal year, where we've already entered into contracts with teachers, that timing has been very challenging. It's like finding out 2 days before payday that you're only going to receive a portion of your paycheck, but you've already set aside those funds for bills, right?
It means the community won't have the migrant education, English language learners, qualified teachers, and before and after school programs, which many families rely on.
We're a very agricultural based community. So we have lots of families that include parents who are migrant workers. They work in the Twin Falls area for a period of time and then move on following the agricultural seasons. So these students, they're Americans, they're our kids here in Twin Falls, but they might only be with us for a short matter of time, right? Might be a couple of months before they move to the next growing season or harvesting season. And so they have these interesting interruptions in their academic year. The migrant education program really allows for us to provide additional support to those students.
So what are they doing now that the money isn't there? Well, the Twin Falls administrative team found out which staff members would be impacted, pulled a list of open positions, and sat down with each person on possible open placements if that pause continues.
It's very challenging to jump in at this point when we've already hired staff for that program to now say we're a month and a half away from the start of school. We need to shift you to a different position.
They aren't alone. School districts across Idaho are still handling the news. The Nampa School District said in part, quote, "While no final decision has been made at the federal level, the current uncertainty is creating challenges for districts across the state." It goes on to say these programs are critical to student success and family support. And the district is actively exploring all available options to ensure students continue receiving the support and services that they rely on. Protecting student learning and well-being remains our highest priority. Boise School District sent this email today to their staff about the pause, saying it's a $1.5 million impact. In a statement, the district says without this funding, we would face difficult decisions that could affect student supports and services. And we're committed to working thoughtfully to avoid staffing reductions and minimize any disruption to our students and schools. In Twin Falls, they are staying optimistic the funding will unfreeze, but say it will create a new challenge if it doesn't come back by the start of the school year.
The challenge then becomes, we've moved these folks to a new position, and do we fill that position and move them back? How do you look for a second grade teacher in September if that's when the funding comes back? Those are kind of the challenges.
Yeah, again, the White House paused the funding, citing concerns about whether the money had been used appropriately in the past years. But districts like Twin Falls say it's in an ag-based community, and these programs are needed to ensure kids can get the proper education and succeed in the classroom.
I know we talked about this a little bit before, but the fact, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes,
Right.
but the fact that Twin Falls is kind of out in front of this and saying, here is our problem, whereas the other school districts are kind of trying to figure it out behind the scenes. But we're running out of time here, right?
Yeah, exactly that. You know, she kind of mentioned this a lot. She goes, you know, as much as we'd love to see it push play, right?
Yeah.
We get the funding. Now, all of a sudden, you know, your English second language or, you know, those programs, now they're a second grade teacher because they had those vacancies they're trying to fill.
Right,
So
and they didn't get the proper training to get in there.
Correct.
They're just thrown in there.
Yes, and so now it's like, okay, well, if that program comes back, now do we move them? And then you're usually not posting positions in September for
Yeah.
new teachers.
It's the uncertainty that is making everybody so crazy right now.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, Hunter.